I posted my engagement, and my cousin tried to destroy my entire life over it. I got engaged after 5 years with my partner, a quiet, perfect moment, and then my cousin exploded. She called me selfish, accused me of stealing her moment, a proposal she hadn't even received yet, and dragged my family into her meltdown. I'm 26F, and 3 weeks ago I got engaged after being with my partner for almost 5 years. Nothing flashy, no crowd, no big speech, just us sitting there together, a quiet moment, and a ring that I genuinely didn't see coming. I cried so hard I couldn't even say yes for a second. My hands were shaking. I just nodded and clung to him like I was scared it was going to disappear if I let go. It felt unreal. It felt sacred. It felt like the happiest moment of my life. Later that night, still in shock, I made a simple announcement online. One photo of my hand resting on his. No posing, no fancy caption. Just, I said yes. That's it. That's all I wrote. I didn't tag people, didn't mention names, didn't even say engaged. I thought it was harmless. Just a little window into my happiness. Within hours, my phone starting vibrating in a way that didn't feel normal. Not the congrats type buzzing, the aggressive, back-to-back, stomach-dropping kind. It was my cousin, Raina, 33F. Her message said, "Hide that post for now. You're going to make people focus on you when this was supposed to be my year." At first, I actually laughed. I stared at the screen waiting for the follow-up, JK, or a laugh emoji. Nothing came, so I replied, "What are you talking about?" And then a paragraph showed up. Then another, all explaining that she had been dropping hints to everyone for months that her boyfriend was definitely proposing soon, that she had built excitement around it, that everyone in the family was already expecting her engagement, that the energy was supposed to be on her, that she had been waiting so long for her moment. And somehow by getting engaged when I did, I had ruined the momentum of her moment. A moment that didn't even exist yet. A proposal she hadn't even received. A ring she didn't have. An event that only lived in her imagination. I told her, "I didn't propose to myself to spite you." She replied, "You always need things to be about you." That one hit a nerve I didn't even realize was still exposed. Because for years, she was the one who got the attention, the compliments, the praise, the admiration, the "wow, you're so lucky to look like that," the "you're the fun one," the "you light up the room." Meanwhile, I was always the afterthought, the one people forgot in group photos, the one friends described as, "Oh yeah, she's nice too," the quiet one, the background character in my own damn family. So no, for once in my life, I wasn't going to dim myself down to make her feel bigger. I told her I wasn't deleting anything. That's when she lost it. She started calling people. My mother called me asking if I knew something was coming for Raina. My aunt texted me asking why I rushed to post. Then my fiancé messaged me saying Raina had reached out to him to ask if this was a strategic move. And then she posted something herself. A vague, dramatic, pity-baiting thing that said, "It's crazy how even your own blood will jump ahead of you just to feel important." No name, but everyone knew. My notifications turned into judgment. Did you plan this? Did you know about her proposal? Why are you competing with her? Couldn't you have waited? Waited for what? For a proposal that never happened? For her boyfriend to finally decide after 5 years that he might want to commit? For her fantasy timeline to finally catch up with reality? Then her boyfriend messaged me. "You could have waited. You didn't have to post it right away. Do you enjoy embarrassing her?" And something in me absolutely snapped. I replied, "You're the one who hasn't proposed in 5 years. But somehow that's my fault." He blocked me instantly. After that, Raina went full meltdown mode. She showed up uninvited at a family gathering, walked in like a storm, face red, eyes wild, hands shaking as she pointed at me and started crying so loudly that everyone froze. She said I planned my engagement based on her personal life. She said I was jealous of her relationship. She said I was insecure. She said I waited for her to be vulnerable so I could take her attention. She told everyone I was calculated, that I was fake, that I was obsessed with being chosen. My uncle tried to tell me to apologize just to calm the situation. I looked at him and said, "For what?" "For getting engaged." And she screamed, "You only got a ring because you can't stand when attention isn't on you." I yelled right back, my voice shaking and loud enough to break the room in half. "At least my partner actually wants to marry me instead of stringing me along for 5 damn years." The silence after that was suffocating. People didn't even breathe. Her face went white and then red. My hands were trembling so hard I thought I might collapse. And for the first time in my life, I didn't care who thought I went too far. My aunt said I was cruel. My uncle said I was disrespectful. My mother looked disappointed in me. Raina locked herself in the bathroom and sobbed like someone had just shattered her universe. And maybe I did, but I didn't feel guilt. Update 1. It didn't slow down. It escalated violently. I thought the first wave was bad. I thought the whispers, the eye rolls, the side texts, the "are you sure this is what you want?" messages were the peak of it. No, that was apparently the warm-up act. Raina didn't come to me directly. Of course not. She's never confronted me head-on in her life. She went the coward route, the silent destruction route, and decided humiliation was going to be her new personality trait. Within 3 days, my phone looked like a crime scene. People I haven't seen in years were suddenly checking in. People I've never even shared a conversation with had opinions. People who didn't even know my middle name were suddenly experts on my relationship and my personality. I kept seeing the same lines repeated back to me in different voices. Raina said you basically forced the proposal. She said he only did it so you'd stop nagging. Apparently you've been begging him for years. She said you're obsessed with being first. The one that actually made my stomach drop was what someone I barely know forwarded to me from a group chat she wasn't even supposed to show me. It was Raina's message. Long, detailed, vicious. She has always been desperate for validation. I'm not even surprised she pushed him into proposing. She's been competing with me since we were kids, and this was her final move. She can pretend it's love, but everyone knows she can't stand not being the center of attention. Then she added, and I still feel sick typing this. If he was smart, he'd run. She's going to trap him with a wedding. That was it. That was the exact second something in me just clicked off. Not broke off, not cracked, just turned off. I went dead calm. Haunted calm. The kind of calm that makes your hands steady while your blood is on fire. I went back. I scrolled months. I found her own messages, her own words, her own digital fingerprints of insecurity and envy that she forgot she ever typed. There it was. I wish someone would just propose to me already. I'm tired of waiting and looking stupid. I feel like everyone is moving on and I'm just stuck looking pathetic. He keeps saying someday and it's humiliating. Not one message, several, repeated, desperate, sad, obsessed. So I did exactly what she had been doing to me, but I did it with proof. I didn't blur her name. I didn't crop it. I didn't soften it. I posted the screenshots, full screen, timestamps, profile picture, everything. And I wrote one single line over it. Desperation is pretending someone else stole what was never yours. I dropped my phone after posting it like it had just burned me. For 3 minutes, it was silent. Then hell opened. My phone started vibrating so hard it was sliding across the table. Missed call, voice message, new message, another call, another call, another call. Raina first. I didn't answer. Then my aunt, then my mother, then 3 cousins, then people I've never even saved in my contacts. By the time I finally grabbed my phone, there were 48 unread messages. 48. The first voice note I opened was my aunt's, and she wasn't even trying to stay calm. What the hell is wrong with you? Are you trying to tear this family apart for attention? Delete that this instant. Then another one came in. Different cousin, screaming. You look unhinged. You realize how crazy you look, right? And then my phone rang again. Raina. I answered. I didn't even say hello before she started screeching into my ear so loudly, I actually had to pull the phone away. You ruined me. You ruined how people see me. She screamed like she was being attacked. And for the first time in years, I snapped back. Not shaking. Not crying. Not apologetic. Clear. Loud. Angry. No. You ruined yourself when the only thing you built your personality around was attention and comparison. She lost her mind. You're jealous of me. You've always been obsessed with me. Everything about you is fake. Your relationship, your engagement, your entire life. I laughed. Actually laughed. Out loud. Jealous of what? The imaginary proposal you've been waiting on for half a decade? The man who still won't commit? The constant need for validation? Pick one. She started sobbing and yelling at the same time, calling me names that don't even make sense anymore. You're bitter. You're pathetic. Nobody even likes you without the ring. And I said it. No filter left. No politeness left. At least mine is real. At least someone chose me instead of making excuses for not choosing you. That's when she hung up. Immediately after, the family mob turned on me like synchronized sharks. A cousin, you're heartless. Another, you're a public embarrassment. Someone I didn't even recognize. Hope the attention was worth it. So I went to the group chat and I typed one single message to all of them. Next person who insults me over lies she created is getting their messages exposed too. I am done playing the quiet villain in someone else's fairy tale. Silence.
Then, wow.
Threats now. Guess we see the real you. So I reminded them, you've been seeing the real me for a week. You just like the silent version better because she was easier to step on. That lit another fire. People started arguing with each other.
Sides formed.
Old grudges came out. Unrelated drama resurfaced. I just sat there watching my phone go off like a digital riot. One family member accused me of trying to steal happiness. What happiness? Another said I always thought I was better than everyone. Since when? Someone else wrote 6 paragraphs about loyalty and respect like they were reading from a badly written movie script. So I dropped one more message that ended the entire chat for a while. Loyalty isn't defending someone's lie just because they're louder. Loyalty is calling out the one who started the fire in the first place. After that, I felt something I wasn't expecting at all. Not guilt, not fear, not even anger. Just this cool, heavy calm. Like a storm had passed right over me instead of through me. My hands were still shaking. My heart was still racing. My notifications were still exploding.
But inside me,
quiet. Like I finally said what I'd swallowed for years. And I don't know if that's dangerous or powerful. Update 2. This one was absolute chaos. And it wasn't even subtle about what it was going to be. I knew something was up the second my aunt texted. We need everyone together to clear the air. That phrase alone should have been my warning sign. Family never wants to clear the air. They want to gang up on whoever is easiest to blame and call it healing. Against my better judgment, I showed up. 8 of us were there, not scattered, not casual, all in a tight circle, like they were preparing for some kind of emotional execution. Raina was already sitting when I walked in, arms crossed, face pale, eyes glassy and red, like she'd been crying on cue all morning. The whole thing looked staged, like she'd been rehearsing the role of wounded victim in a mirror. No one greeted me. No, thanks for coming. No, how are you? Just tension so thick it felt like I was walking through it. My aunt started it by telling everyone this was a safe space. I actually almost laughed out loud. A safe space for who, exactly? Because it sure as hell didn't feel safe for me. Then it started. One by one, they just unloaded. You've been really cold lately. You embarrassed Raina. You went too far online. You acted like a bully. You should be ashamed. And that word, ashamed, just stuck in my head because no one had the nerve to say that when Raina was spreading rumors about me. No one said it when she was framing me as some desperate, jealous, man-stealing villain to anyone who would listen. No one said it when she twisted my engagement into some calculated attack on her imaginary moment. But suddenly, when I finally clapped back, I was the problem. So I sat there, listening to them take turns criticizing me, dissecting me, talking about me like I wasn't even there. Like I was a case study in how to be a difficult person. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. I said, you keep throwing around the word family like it means something holy. So let me ask you something. Where was this family when I was working double shifts and still counting coins to afford groceries? Where was this concern when I was drowning in stress and nobody even noticed? You weren't sitting me in circles then, asking about my feelings. The room went dead silent. Not even fake sympathy, just uncomfortable looks. A couple of people couldn't even meet my eyes. Raina didn't stay quiet though. She leaned forward and muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear, you always turn everything into a pity performance. That was it. Something in me just snapped clean in half. I looked straight at her and said, at least my struggles were real. Not some dramatic content you write in your head for an audience that isn't even paying attention anymore. Her head shot up. You think I fake my life? You think I fake my pain? I think you fake your image. I shot back. Big difference. You don't want happiness, Raina. You want attention. And when you didn't get it, you decided I was the enemy. She stood up so fast the chair scraped across the floor. You think you're above me, she screamed at me. You think you're better because you got a stupid ring. And my hands were shaking too now. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I don't think I'm better than you, I said, my voice tight and sharp. I just finally realized I'm not beneath you. I'm not your backup character. I'm not your shadow. And I'm definitely not pausing my life because you're insecure about yours. That sent her into full breakdown mode. Crying, yelling, pointing at me like I was some criminal. She called me heartless. She called me selfish. She called me evil. She called me bitter. And I returned every single one right back. I told her she was manipulative. I told her she was obsessive. I told her she was addicted to being the center of everything. I told her she needed drama more than she needed happiness. People started shouting over each other. My uncle yelled at me to have respect. My aunt told me I was destroying the family. Someone else told me I needed therapy. Someone else said I was spiraling. And I snapped at them too. Where was all of this energy when she was lying about me to everyone? I shouted. Where was your outrage then? Or does respect only exist when I'm the one you can attack without consequences? Nobody answered that. Reina was sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. She kept repeating, she hates me, she hates me, she's trying to ruin my life, over and over like a broken record. And I just stared at her and said, no, you hate that I stopped letting you control how everyone sees me. That ended the whole thing. Update 3. Out of nowhere, Reina changed strategies. No more screaming. No more vague posting. No more cousins calling me a heartless snake or a dramatic little attention addict. Instead, one evening, I got a voice message from her. It popped up on my screen like a ghost I didn't invite back into my life. Her voice was soft, almost fragile, the kind of voice she uses when she wants sympathy. I already knew the performance, but my stomach still twisted hearing it. I don't want to fight forever, she said, voice shaking. I'm exhausted. This has taken so much out of me. I just wanted one happy moment in my life. One moment where people looked at me and said, she finally got her moment. And you took that from me. Then she sniffled. Actually sniffled. Like she was auditioning for something. I don't hate you, she continued. I just need you to understand how badly you hurt me. I needed that spotlight. I needed that joy. You always get everything without even trying, and I get nothing. It's not fair. For a split second, I almost felt it. That old instinct to apologize, to smooth things over, to make myself small so someone else could feel big. And then she showed her real intention. So, if you really love me as your family, you'd post an apology.
Just a simple one.
Tell people I was meant to have the spotlight first, and that you didn't realize what you were doing. That would fix everything. I could finally breathe again. I just stared at my phone. No anger, no shaking, just a very slow, very clear realization.
She didn't want peace.
She wanted control. She wanted to rewrite reality so she could be the victim and I could be the villain who repented. And I felt something in me snap, not in a chaotic way, in a sharp, clean way, like a rope finally breaking after being pulled too tight for years. Instead of arguing, instead of defending, instead of trying to explain my side, like I always used to do, I sent one message, one line. You don't get to rewrite my life to feel better about yours. That was it. Within minutes, my phone started lighting up again. Not with her. I think she was too busy melting down, but with other people. One cousin texted, seriously? She's crying all over the place, and you're still being cold. I replied, crying doesn't change facts. It just makes noise. Another family member said, you're really enjoying humiliating her, aren't you? I wrote back, I'm enjoying not lying for her anymore. Then my aunt, the same one who said I had no empathy, called me and went off. You think you're so smart, so above everyone now. You think one ring makes you better than the entire family? And I said, straight into the phone, without raising my voice, it's not the ring that made me better. It's the moment I stopped letting all of you treat me like I'm disposable. She went silent, then muttered something about me being ungrateful, and hung up on me. A few hours later, Reina blocked me on everything. Messages failed. Profile disappeared, like she wiped herself out of my digital world. And you know what? For the first time in years, I didn't panic. I didn't check obsessively. I didn't feel that sick twist of needing to fix it. There were no notifications, no indirect quotes, no late-night paragraphs accusing me of things I didn't do, no watching my name get dragged through group chats. Just quiet. Update 4. For a while, life felt normal again. Not perfect, but quiet. And quiet felt like heaven. I started moving forward without thinking of Reina every 5 minutes. I was going to work without the anxiety of checking my phone every 10 seconds. I started catching myself smiling again. I slept all the way through the night without waking up with that tight feeling in my chest, the one I'd had for months. I stopped replaying arguments in my head. I stopped imagining what she might be saying about me. I stopped caring. I was planning things with my fiancé without feeling guilty about it, picking colors that I liked, talking about our future without that little voice in the back of my head saying, don't be too happy. Don't make it obvious. I was finally breathing without asking permission. And then someone sent me a screenshot. It was her post, a very carefully staged, very carefully lit photo. Her hand resting on her boyfriend's chest, fingers stretched out to make it look ring ready. A soft caption underneath, soft launching the start of my new chapter. No ring, no announcement, no confirmation, just a tease. Then, 2 slides later, at least my love is real. That one was clearly meant for me. My stomach dropped, not out of sadness, out of disgust, because it was the same game again, the same bait, the same manipulation, except this time time, people weren't falling for it. The comment section was not what she expected. Where's the ring? Did he finally propose, or soft launching what exactly? Isn't this the same pic as last year but different caption? And my personal favorite, didn't someone else in this family just get engaged for real? She started fighting in her own comments, actually arguing with people, telling them to mind their business, while posting the most public, attention-hungry content imaginable. Then came the DMs to me. Long, unhinged, voice note-filled DMs. You see what you did? You poisoned people against me. They don't respect me because of you. You ruined my relationship energy. You cursed us. Cursed. Like I'm some kind of villain in a movie. I didn't answer at first. I just watched the messages stack up. I watched her spiral in real time. Typing, deleting, retyping, switching between crying and rage. Voice notes where she was sobbing so hard she could barely breathe, followed by ones where she was screaming that I destroy everything I touch. Then finally I typed, "You were lying to yourself before I ever posted a single photo. Don't put that on me." She replied instantly, "You're jealous that I have passion and you don't." That one actually made me laugh out loud. So I wrote back, "Passion for what? Performing online for people who are finally seeing through you." That's when she exploded. She called me a snake. She called me miserable. She called me ugly on the inside and outside. She said my fiancé would eventually realize he bought damaged goods. And something in me snapped again. I sent a voice note. Calm. Crystal clear. No trembling this time. You want the truth? You're not mad because I did something to you. You're mad because I did nothing and still got everything you've been begging the universe for. And instead of looking at yourself, you decided I was the enemy because that's easier than admitting your own relationship is empty. She didn't reply, but she didn't stop either. Instead, she moved to family again. I started getting messages from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. She says you're obsessed with her. She says you want her man. She says you're trying to embarrass her on the internet. I answered every single one the same way. If I were obsessed with her, I wouldn't have forgotten she existed until she said my name again. One of them told me I was cruel, so I fired back. You changed the definition of cruel. Try emotional blackmail with new packaging. Apparently, that got back to her too, because that night, she showed up at another family get-together that I didn't even know she'd be at. The minute she walked in, the energy shifted. She didn't even say hello, didn't look at anyone else. She walked straight up to me. "You're really proud of yourself, aren't you?" I stared at her and said, "For not lying?" "Yeah, kinda." She scoffed loudly, so everyone could hear. "Your sickness." And I said, just as loud, "And you're an addiction to attention that no one's feeding anymore." Everyone froze. She started yelling, "You stole my narrative. You stole my moment. You always played the victim better than me." And I stepped closer, voice low but sharp. "Absolutely done. You don't get to label my life as yours. You don't get to tell me when I'm allowed to be happy. You do not own me." My aunt tried to step in and said my name sharply, like I was a child. I turned to her and said, "Don't." You sat there and watched her tear me apart for months. You don't get to police my tone now. Raina started crying again, but it wasn't the broken kind of crying. It was the angry kind, the desperate kind, the I'm losing control kind. "You think you won," she hissed. I looked her in the eye and said the realest line I've ever said in my life. "I didn't win. You just lost your grip on me." She walked out, not ran, not slammed a door, just walked, knowing everyone had seen her for exactly what she was. And the craziest part, no one ran after her. No one told me to apologize this time. They just looked at me. Different. Update 5. It finally happened. He was just gone. No messy breakup post. No dramatic self-love caption. No sad music. No cryptic quote about healing. Just erased. Like he never existed on her page. One day his face was still in her profile highlights. The next morning, gone. Posts wiped. Tags removed. Her relationship status disappeared. Even the comments she used to pin under pictures of them were suddenly unpinned. And the silence? It was loud. People noticed. Obviously, people noticed. The same people who spent weeks looking at me like I was some kind of curse on her life suddenly started looking at her sideways. And for the first time in months, I wasn't the one being side-eyed. It started subtle at first. Did they break up? Wait, she deleted everything. Is he okay? Wasn't she saying he was the love of her life like last month? Then it turned into straight-up interrogation in the group chats. I wasn't even the one who brought it up. Someone else asked, and then everyone else jumped in. And suddenly my phone is blowing up like I'm supposed to be the spokesperson for her life. Did you hear something? Was there something wrong with him? Did you talk to her recently? The same people who were ready to destroy me 2 months ago now wanted details. I didn't give them anything, but she gave them plenty. She went from priding herself on private love to playing the victim in private DMs, telling people I manifested negativity into her relationship, that I spiritually blocked her happiness, that I projected unresolved issues onto her connection. She really used the word energy like she had a degree in it, and people started sending me screenshots. I try to be the bigger person, but some people don't want to see you at peace. Someone else. Who? I don't need to say names. The universe already knows. Oh, really? The universe knows? Because a few months ago, you had no problem saying my name out loud. I didn't feel sorry for her. I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel guilty. If anything, I felt insulted all over again because she wanted to rewrite history and still turn herself into the wounded one. And then came the messages. People she used to send after me started coming back around, trying to be neutral, trying to be peaceful, which is just another way of saying opportunistic. But not everyone was trying to be nice. Nope. Some of them doubled down. One person messaged me and said, "You're not happy unless someone else is failing." I replied, "No, I'm not happy unless people stop blaming me for things I didn't break." Another one said, "Well, she's clearly going through something right now." And I snapped. She was going through something when she let you all treat me like trash too. They tried to soften me with excuses. She's hurting. She thought it was real. She loved him. And I told them exactly what I thought. She loved attention. Don't confuse the two. That did not go over well. A few people straight up called me bitter. After I stayed silent for 3 months while they dragged me for breathing wrong. After I minded my own business. After she tried to paint me as jealous, unstable, and obsessed. The audacity actually shocked me. So this time, I didn't keep the peace. I demanded chaos. You want me to be the villain so bad? Fine. Let me be honest instead. And I stopped filtering myself. I told them the truth they didn't want and couldn't twist. That her relationship wasn't magical. It was performative. That she didn't love him. She loved posting him. That what she lost wasn't a soulmate. It was an accessory. Of course, word got back to her. And that same night, after months of silence, I got a message from her. Just one sentence. "I wish we handled things differently. No apology. No accountability. No, I'm sorry for the lies. No, I hurt you. Just, I wish we handled things differently. Like it was some bad business deal. Like it was mutual. Like we both messed up the same way." And for a moment, I stared at it. I imagined everything I could say. Everything I wanted to scream. Everything she deserved to hear. But I didn't reply because the moment for conversation had been buried under months of disrespect. She didn't want to handle things differently. She wanted to save face differently. And that's not the same thing. The tension now, it's thicker than it's ever been. Family members who avoided me are suddenly checking in. People who accused me are suddenly just hoping everyone can heal. And she's spiraling in silence and pride, trying to look unbothered while everyone can smell the truth. She posts less now. No romantic quotes. No soft launch. No hand-holding silhouettes. Just selfies. Just captions about growth. Just fake strength. And every time she posts something about peace, I can almost hear the anger behind it because she knows. She knows the story didn't go the way she planned. She knows the narrative slipped out of her hands. And most of all, she knows I didn't come back begging for peace. I didn't come back crying. I didn't come back apologizing. I didn't come back hoping she'd accept me. I stayed silent. And that silence is driving her insane. Update 6. Things changed slowly, quietly, almost imperceptibly at first. Family members who had spent weeks calling me cold, selfish, and ungrateful suddenly started approaching me privately. Not in public, not to mediate, not to lecture me about being nicer. Just quiet messages, short texts, soft apologies. I didn't know the full story. They misled us all. They just wanted peace. Peace. Funny word. The same word used to justify weeks of emotional attacks, whispers, side-eye, and public shaming. I looked at their messages and laughed quietly to myself. My peace almost cost me everything. I wrote back once, bluntly, because I wasn't going to pretend it didn't matter. There were no answers. No excuses that made sense. Just guilt disguised as apologies. Meanwhile, Raina, she had changed. She wasn't posting for attention anymore. She wasn't dramatizing little moments on social media. She was quiet, observing, watching. I could almost see her calculating what happened, replaying every post, every screenshot, every message I'd ever sent. And suddenly the dynamic shifted. Family members who had once treated her like the untouchable golden child, the one who could do no wrong, the one whose every whim had to be indulged, now treated her differently.
Politely.
Hesitant, with subtle caution. And me, who had endured weeks of yelling, public humiliation, whispered concern, and all-out family attacks, suddenly, I was being treated with respect. Not fake respect, not perfunctory nods. Real respect. I could feel it at gatherings. Even when Raina tried to interject, people listened to me first. When she tried to dominate the conversation, she was politely interrupted, corrected, or ignored. Not maliciously, just she had lost the narrative control. Of course, there were still barbs thrown my way. A distant cousin who had been particularly vicious in the early weeks sent me a text. "You're intense. Always have been." I didn't sugarcoat my response. "And you are a coward, watching someone be attacked and doing nothing." Don't confuse honesty for intensity. I heard whispers from the same people who had previously called me bitter, jealous, and selfish. "She's fearless," someone muttered. "She doesn't care anymore."
Exactly.
I didn't care. And when Raina tried one last move, thinking she could reclaim the narrative, she cornered me at a family event in front of a small crowd. Hands on her hips, eyes wide, tone dripping with indignation. "You think you can just act like nothing happened? Like you won?" I didn't raise my voice at first. I let the silence sit for a beat, let her anger simmer, and then I said, loud enough for everyone within earshot, "Yeah, I won. Not because I wanted to. Not because I care about seeing you embarrassed, but because I refuse to bend. I refuse to apologize for being me. I refuse to shrink for someone else's comfort." Gasps from the onlookers. Raina's mouth opened, closed, opened again. She sputtered. You think you're better than me?" I stepped closer, voice cutting, controlled but sharp. "No, I'm not better. I'm just done letting you dictate how I live my life. I don't owe you space in my head, in my timeline, or in my happiness. You had your shot. You lost it." People were staring, some shocked, some quietly cheering. Her face was red. I could hear her trembling. She tried to speak, tried to twist it, tried to claim victimhood. "You're cruel. You're always cruel. You ruined everything." I didn't flinch. I didn't break. I shouted back, loud enough that everyone could hear. "I didn't ruin anything. You ruined it. You ruined it for yourself the moment you decided my life had to revolve around your fantasy. You ruined it the moment you decided everyone else should bow to your imagined spotlight. You don't get to rewrite reality to soothe your ego." People around us were quiet now. Raina's aunt and uncle looked uncomfortable. Her friends avoided my gaze. I could feel the tension like static electricity. She screamed again, louder, more desperate. "You only got what you wanted because you can't stand me being happy." I didn't hesitate. Bullshit. I got what I wanted because I earned it. Because I refused to shrink, to tiptoe, to let your jealousy dictate my life. Your happiness isn't my responsibility. Your attention isn't my duty. At that point, Raina's hands were shaking. She turned and ran from the room, leaving her audience stunned, quiet, awkward. And for the first time in months, I felt unshakable, because nothing she could do, nothing anyone could say, could change that I didn't bend. I didn't cave. I didn't let anyone, not her, not my family, not the whispers, steal my agency. The family members who had once scolded me, they weren't scolding anymore. They were looking at me like someone finally stood up for herself, like someone finally stopped letting the drama dictate her life. Even people who had been vicious, messaging insults, calling me jealous or bitter, hesitated to speak around me now. I'd set a boundary, screamed it when necessary, and the message had landed. Raina? She's quiet now, watching, calculating. And I'm finally living without fear, without guilt, without the need to explain myself. And everyone knows it. Update 7. This is it. The moment I finally feel untouchable. Not because Raina lost. Not because anyone finally apologized. Not because my family suddenly decided I was right all along. None of that mattered. I won because I stopped caring. I stopped giving a single damn about being liked by people who never respected me. People who spent years mocking, belittling, gaslighting, and attempting to manipulate my emotions for their own narrative. People who tried to dictate how I lived, who I shared my happiness with. And even when I was allowed to celebrate my milestones, I walked into rooms like I owned them. I spoke without apology. apologies. I laughed without hesitation. I lived without guilt. And for the first time in my life, it was mine. Raina tried one last push. She cornered me at a distant cousin's event, thinking she could reclaim the narrative, thinking she could shame me into silence. You don't get to act like nothing happened, she yelled, voice cracking, hands trembling. You always steal everything. You ruin everything for everyone. I looked her dead in the eye, and I yelled back, no, I don't steal anything. You steal the spotlight because you can't stand to be seen as ordinary. You don't ruin anyone. You destroy your own credibility with lies, manipulations, and performances.
And now,
everyone sees it. She shouted at me. You're bitter. You're jealous. You can't let anyone else shine without trying to make it about you. I didn't flinch. I didn't back down. I raised my voice, filled the room, and shouted. Bitter? Jealous? I've spent years being background noise in my own life while you demanded attention, demanded praise, demanded everyone bow to your fantasies. I'm not jealous. I'm free. I'm done being small so you could feel big. A few relatives gasped. Others looked away uncomfortably. Raina's eyes widened, and she started sputtering, trying to find words to claw back control. You don't understand. Everything you did was selfish. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. I leaned closer, voice cold but loud. Embarrassed you? I clarified the truth. I called out the manipulations. I stopped letting your false narratives dictate my life. And if that embarrasses you, too bad. I don't live to cushion your ego anymore. She stomped her feet, furious, trying to scream louder than me. I matched her volume, cutting her off mid-sentence. You want drama?
Fine.
Here's drama. I will never apologize for being real. I will never shrink for your comfort. I will never pretend my happiness exists to serve your delusions. People around us started whispering. Some murmurs of finally floated in the room. Others looked shocked. No one dared to interrupt. Raina gasped, pointing at me. You only got engaged first because you're desperate. You had to prove you were better. I laughed, loud, unashamed, echoing in the room. Better? Better doesn't matter. I'm alive. I'm happy. I'm in love. And I'm not bending to your expectations. You spent 5 years waiting for your moment. I spent 5 years building my life. That's the difference. That's reality. And you can scream all you want. Reality doesn't care about your tantrums. Her voice cracked. Her hands flew to her face, and she bolted from the room again. I could hear mutters behind her. She's unshakable. She doesn't care anymore. She's fearless. Exactly. I didn't care. I wouldn't care. And I haven't since the moment I decided my life is mine, not hers, not anyone else's. I no longer compete for attention. I don't tiptoe around fragile egos. I don't justify my joy. My milestones are mine. My happiness is mine. My timeline is mine. And for the first time ever, I feel complete. I am not background noise anymore. I am not the backup plan. I am not the afterthought. I am the main voice.
Loud.
Unapologetic. Undeniable. And I will never turn it down again. The end. Your cousin didn't just want a proposal. She wanted the entire world to freeze in place and wait for her imaginary red carpet moment that she'd been hyping up for half a decade. She turned, I'm happy for you, into how dare you be happy before me. She turned your quiet, private, beautiful engagement into a personal crime against her fantasy timeline. A timeline, by the way, that only existed in her head and on her vision board. She didn't ask you to share the spotlight. She demanded you turn yours off completely because hers wasn't ready yet. She called you jealous when she was the one stalking your happiness like it stole something from her. She called you desperate when she spent 5 years performing girlfriend for a man who never once put a ring on it. She called you cruel for refusing to lie down and play the villain in the soap opera she wrote, directed, and starred in. And the family? Oh, the family. They didn't protect the cousin who finally got chosen. They protected the one who thought love was a competition and attention was oxygen. They called you selfish for refusing to hand over your joy like it was communal property. They called you dramatic for finally speaking louder than the lies she spread about you. It didn't steal her moment. Her moment never showed up because her boyfriend never cared enough to create one. You didn't ruin her narrative. She ruined it herself the second she decided someone else's real life was an insult to her fake one. You didn't destroy the family. You just stopped letting them use family as a weapon to keep you small, quiet, and convenient. Oh no, you're not the villain for refusing to dim your light, so she could keep pretending hers was coming coming any day now. You're not bitter for celebrating something real, while she mourned something imaginary. You're not cruel for telling the truth after months of being painted as the monster. You're just done performing background character in someone else's never-ending audition for a role that was never cast. Enjoy that ring. Enjoy that man who actually wanted to marry you. Enjoy every single second of the happiness you never have to ask permission for again. And let Reina keep screaming into the void she mistook for a spotlight. The rest of us can see clearly now. The light was always yours. You just finally stopped letting her blow it out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got a story to share? Drop it in the comments and let us know which one was your favorite.